Share this
When
desktop.
you say
Okay.
that, when you say the exercises, do you mean just in general, or do you mean in specific sections?
All of the ones at the end of the chapters that say exercises, except for the ones that say you don't need to submit evidence for this. If
Like
you
every
submit
chapter,
those,
then?
yeah, yeah. So it's a significant amount of work, but it is also valuable. It like opens up a whole nother set of paths to take for when you're doing the certification. Cool. Okay, so we're talking about cross-site scripting now. We introduced it a little bit last week. What do we already know about cross-site scripting? Who's involved in cross-site scripting? Who's the target?
The client.
Client. So let's draw a circle here. Give me that circle. Draw a circle, and here's one of our clients. This is going to be a client. And if we're going to have a client, we obviously need a server. So that's server for that client to talk to, right? So here's our server. And now it's normally not just one client and one server, right? We usually have lots of clients. So I'm just going to make another client over here. And we're going to make this one. We'll give him, he's black. He's going to be black because he's a black hat. He's client 1 and 1. This guy over here, he'll be just the regular client. So we'll make him, I don't know, green. That makes sense for a regular client. So we got our 2 clients here and we got our server. And we'll say this is a web server because we're going to be talking about cross-site scripting attacks. So what do clients do with servers?
Make requests.
Yeah, we send requests. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our arrow and we're going to send, this is going to be the direction of the request. Ooh, this should be a black request. Let's make it black. Is there a bad guy here? And we'll use a diamond to represent a request. This is not a diamond. This is not a diamond. Okay, so here's our diamond. And we have an idea of what requests look like. Let's say this server is the Kitties web server for kitty fans, right? It's the server for kitty fans. And on that server, you can make posts. And it's for, all of the kitty lovers to share their posts of the cutest kitties. Every Catterday they'll post cats. But this is what we're doing now. So client 1 wants to post, that it's Catterday and it's time to post some cats. So she's going to send a request to do that. So we know what requests look like. It's going to be a post request to /kitties/posts, right? And inside that post request, there's going to be some headers, right? User agent, maybe cookie, stuff like that. I'll put that in here. Cookie, user agent, stuff like that, right? At the bottom of the post, we have a body. That's where the data is going to be. Maybe it'll look like this. Author equals client 1 and content equals it's Catterday post some cats, right? Okay, so here's our lovely post request that goes to the server. Server receives this post request and it's like, all right, this is what I need to do. I'm going to take this post request. I'm going to take the data that's inside this post request and I'm going to save it into my database so I can remember it. And then that way, whenever someone else makes a GET request for kitties/posts, they can get all the posts. So let's represent that with a nice little database in here. This is the kitties server database. Oops. Database. I'm just going to say DB. And inside that kitty server DB, there's different tables. And for one of the tables, there's going to be the post table. And there's going to, that might be something like ID and an author and content, right? It's going to be like just a big table. And now once we get this request, we're going to add it to that database. So it's going to be like ID1 and the author is, boop, boop, boop. Hey, let me type here. And the author is client 1 and the content is, well, we're just going to take exactly what it says. Copy. And we're going to put that in the database. Cool. Cool. So far, so good, right? We're well on our way to our amazing Kitty community. So now client number two, she would like to, it's Saturday morning. She's ready to go see what the newest posts on the Kitty fan. So she's going to send a GET request. So we'll get an arrow over here from client to the server, right? Oh, by the way, this server, ooh, I'm not trying to save you. By the way, after the server saves it to the database, the server is going to send back some kind of response. I don't know, maybe like, thank you for, here, we'll represent this. The server is going to send some kind of response. That'll be like, maybe redirect to thank you for posting page, something like that, right? That's going to be the response. Probably a 201 or something, right? With that status code, like, good job, we created your post, something like that. All right, client number two is going for the kitties. Going to make a request. Here's our request diamond. Again, it's going to be a GET request to /kitties/posts. Ooh, we're getting tight. Move this over here. Okay, GET request to /kitties/post for client number two. Server's like, all right, I know how to do that. They're asking me for the resources inside this database for kitties/posts, and I'm going to get them all, and I'm going to serve it up to client number two, right? So here's going to be the response. Let's draw an arrow, arrow back. Here's the response. And it has the posts, it knows how to format it some way. It sends back some, HTML. Inside that HTML, you somehow see this. Maybe it's inside some kind of paragraph tag, or maybe it's in some kind of list tag. I don't know. It depends on the server. But it's going to be inside there, inside that response. That way, inside client two, when client two gets this response, the browser knows how to deal with it. So here's the browser of client number two. And then inside their browser, they're going to see that post that says, yeah, it's Catterday, post some cats. All right. So this is how forums pretty much work. There's a lot of data that moves around and gets saved, right? Client one makes a post request to the server accepts it and saves that data. And someone else, client number two, whenever they make a GET request to that server, now the server serves that data up. And this is all fine and dandy if everyone behaves themselves. But client two can do naughty things, right? Client two, right, now that we see that somehow client one is able to take data, put it on the server, and then get that server to serve it up to client number two, right? What if we could send up something that makes client number two treat it like code and run that code? And so this is client number one attacking client number two using the server. And the server isn't doing its job properly, right? So how could the server stop this from happening?
Look for code being posted.
Yeah, right? Like, the problem that's happening here is this server is not doing what we call sanitizing input. It's just taking whatever someone says. It's like, hey, this is the data. All right, I'm going to save that in the database. But it's not cleaning it up first, right? There are certain characters, and we've already seen, depending on the language we're talking about Bash, we're talking about JavaScript, we're talking about Python, we're certain characters that are used by the thing that's reading the code for interpretation, right? Like curly braces and, less than signs. And so, what a good server should do is, sure, take this data and then do something to clean it up. Be like, oh, if we find less than signs or, greater than signs, we're going to replace those with something else, or we'll escape those before we put it in the database and before we serve it up to client number two. So what are we going to do today? We're going to do this. But instead of putting a payload that is just innocuous, doesn't do anything, just a post that other people will see, we're going to get another client to run JavaScript, to run, our payload, to get them to do something. So once we get them to do something, right, we get them to do it in the context of their browser. Client number two's our target's browser. What can we do when we're a browser? We could send different requests to things, right? We do everything through the browser, right? You do, your banking, all that stuff like that. You get access to all of the cookies, right? Once you have that sort of access, you got access to everything. So this is a very serious vulnerability if you're able to take advantage of it. And the ways we take advantage of it are by servers that are not properly sanitizing data. They're just taking in what we say, or we're being particularly clever with, certain characters so that we get to slide our way in there and they, mistake our input for something else. But big things to take away. This is a client-side attack. We're not attacking the server. We're attacking another client. And we're getting this to happen because the server is not properly sanitizing our inputs. Cool. Questions? Does this make sense? Tell me if it doesn't.
So could we use our Python servers to do a post request for a file on our server that can be delivered to theirs then? Or is it a little bit of a different thing?
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to think of what you're saying. So say that one more time.
I'm trying to not say something too obvious either at the same time, because I'm thinking that this is basically
say something obvious. It's fine.
So if I'm in a form, could I put script and then the link to my Python server that has a file on there that I want the other one to have?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's the idea. That's what we're going to be trying to do today. So the textbook, the exercises, if you read the small chapter, it's not too many pages. Before you try these exercises, it's very good. It's kind of like a walkthrough. We're going to do these things. We're going to make a post. We're going to somehow put some JavaScript in here. And we're going to get client number two. When they hit this server, they're going to run that JavaScript, and that JavaScript is going to do something, nefarious for us, something bad. And that's the practice for today. And then we're going to be working on a box where, the approach will kind of be a little bit similar too. So that way I want you to do, at the very least, try out and get success with this exercise. So let me just show you what this is going to look like. So you can get started quickly. I'm just gonna, I should have reverted this a little sooner. But you're going to revert your Windows box, and you're going to use the XAMPP from yesterday. I believe Frank showed you that. If not, do a quick tour just so you can see how you can use it, make it easy for yourself. If you feel like you ever broke it, the easiest thing to do is just revert the box. But I don't think you should need to do that. So the Windows 10 client has a web server that is vulnerable to these cross-site scripting attacks. So that's where we're going to get to practice it. And I guess I don't want to give too much more away than that. So you can practice. And once that's ready, we can just our desktop onto the box. New. Well, I guess this is a good time for anyone to also just get connected and start reverting their machines. Even though you guys are going to be working in pairs for this exercise, I do want everybody to actually do it themselves. There's value in doing it. All right, cool. We got this set up. We're going to our desktop in. I'm just going to log in as admin and pass the credential as lab. So it was saved there. Make this a little bit larger for myself. Just going to ignore this network thing, and we're going to go to XAMPP. So this thing manages a few services. The two services we need for the web app are Apache, which is the web service, web server, and MySQL, which is the database. So we start both of those. Inside the textbook, there are, you can find the passwords for both the web server and the MySQL database. I'm going to go into the SQL database just so you can see, because I want to show you this. What is it? Admin and what's this? Those credentials are inside your textbook, or if you'd like, you can go ahead and throw Hydra at this page to practice it. But again, what I want to show you is this is a interface for managing your database. The database of the web app is under web app DB. And you could see the two tables here. We have the feedback table and the users table. All right, let's go look at the web app. I'm going to look at it from my attack box. 192.168.2.6. Is that it? Yeah. So here it is. This is the IP of my Windows machine, and this is the Tom's Taco Truck app. And what I wanted to show you here is under feedback, you can make comments. All right, grit. Hi, hello. And then, you could do things like, hey, let's see if it lets me even use some of these characters that I know are kind of bad sometimes, right? This and this, and submit. Right, it takes me. I got a response that sent me back to, that told me thanks for my feedback. And if I come back here now, I could see my comment. And this is where you're going to try and inject your malicious JavaScript. Okay. Any questions? I think the textbook does a really good walkthrough of it. So I kind of want you all to just read and get the value from it. But do you have any questions? If you want to delete anything from this database, you can just go right here, right? From the PHP MyAdmin, you go to the feedback database or table. You could see here are the each of those things, just like I told you, from a table, right? Like you have the ID, you have the name, you got the text. If you want to delete it, you could just hit the delete button. Yeah, okay, delete it. The other thing I'll show you is here's the actual, oops, that's not what I do. This is the actual SQL query that's run. So if you're interested in learning a little bit about SQL, you could play around with it here. Okay. Questions before I set you off, let you guys try this?
Yeah, Matt, is that potentially possible through anywhere on a website that you could enter information, like say, sign up for our email list?
So what you're looking for, right? Remember, this is an attack on another client. Like this cross-site scripting specifically is another client attack where we're going to look for some place that you can put things in where other people will see it when they go back and they get make a GET request for it. So if that email list thing is like, did you sign our guest book sort of thing, and then like when you sign it, other people will see, then yes. If it just if it just goes to a database, then no, that won't be cross-site scripting unless that server ends up serving up that content again. It'll be something else. It's potentially some kind of injection, but it wouldn't be cross-site scripting. I wouldn't call it that in that time. Cool. Other questions?